Well, they optioned Matt Shaw to the minor leagues, and I thought it was a shocking move. But when you look back and you kind of step away from it for a second, you realize that it was really the only move that they could make, the Cubs. And they had one of their best games of the season, in my opinion. An extra inning win in San Diego against the Padres, despite dropping 2 pop-ups and giving up a home run. That was it. We're going to get into that right here on the Cubs Baseball channel. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. Thanks for being here today. And let's get this party started. Good to see all you guys. What do you say, everybody? Mick Gillespie at Cubs Baseball Channel, and I appreciate you guys for being here. I'm at Broadcaster Mick on the socials, but a little bit late of a start today. A lot going on, but I wanted to get on here and do this show, so hopefully you guys will like it. And I wanted to give my opinion on this. Matt Shaw was optioned to Iowa. When the Cubs basically named him the starting third baseman at the beginning of the season, it didn't feel like he was ready to be the starting third baseman at the beginning of the season. It felt like they put themselves in a spot where he had to be the starting third baseman at the beginning of the season. They made the Tucker trade, which, I mean, look, could be what gets them back into the postseason and makes them a legitimate team to make a run. I don't know if the pitching would hold up in a real short series where, you know, stars dominate. But through the course of this marathon, him being in the lineup every day is a difference maker. The problem is that you traded the 2 guys that you had to play third base, that one was now and one was the future, right? And Cam Smith is, in the big leagues, Cubs first round pick, or at least last check I was, and he's struggling, and that's the way that it goes. And then Isaac Paredes, you traded for him. And I've gotten into this before, right? But I'm okay with it because obviously they felt confident enough to have Shaw there. He hasn't struggled defensively. Actually, he's been really good. He just is overmatched by the pitching. And this is what we're seeing throughout the league. You know, that you want to push these guys up, and they're not getting professional at bats enough to make adjustments, learn how to make in-bat adjustments. You know, a lot of the instruction doesn't include guys who were in the big leagues until you get to the big leagues. And that's fine too. I mean, you can learn from all kind of people, but there's got to be a mix there, right? A lot of what I see is guys getting to the big leagues like Pete Crow Armstrong, Hollywood Pete, and then struggling because they're just not ready. And then they're just going to get that experience of struggling in the big leagues instead of in the minor leagues. And like like Pete, Shaw sent back to the minor leagues, and hopefully with that experience that he has under his belt, he'll be able to get back and really help him out. Now the Cubs are in a spot with the bullpen where they needed some help, and they got that with Luke Little and Daniel Palencia. And there's more depth in AAA than the Cubs have had. I think like big league depth that they've had in a long time. Maybe not elite depth like the Dodgers have, but good depth. And those two getting to the show will certainly help the Cubs as they move forward. I don't think this is the end of Shaw, that you can't do anything with Gage Workman because he's got to go back to the Tigers if you option him. So that's it's just a numbers game as much as anything else. But Workman looks good over at third too. You know, I don't think you lose a whole lot when you switch between Shaw and Workman, and that makes things easier too. And knowing Matt Shaw, he's a guy that's going to take this in stride. He's going to work hard. He's a pro, and he'll be better for the experience. But he's not ready for the job. Now, does that mean the Cubs go out and get a third baseman if there's one on the market? I think they could if they didn't have to give up a whole lot to get him. And then, how much does that cost financially? That's kind of another thing too. But Matt Shaw going to Iowa was shocking at the time. And then when you look back now, you go, well, what else are you going to do? I got to give the bullpen some credit. Shota Imanaga was Shota Imanaga. And it was great to watch, honestly. Like, if he pitched in San Diego, I bet he'd win 20 games, in that big ballpark. But 5 innings, 4 hits, and 3 walks, and 7 strikeouts for Imanaga. And he gives up the home run to Manny Machado which was honestly one of the worst displays of defense since Little League. I mean, Tucker dropped a pop-up. Another, I think it was Workman maybe dropped the other one. But it was, then the guy hits a home run. How many times are you going to give Manny Machado swings before he makes you pay, right? But with that said, the bullpen had one of their best games. Merriweather came in, got it done. Porter Hodge came in and got it done. Presley came in, got it done. And then Caleb Thielbar, who I feel like is kind of that guy that they're looking at and going, can this guy hang, or are we going to get rid of him? Had his best performance. You start with a guy at second base in extra innings now, and he got the job done. I thought Nico Horner's triple was great. Would have loved to seen the Cubs get him across, maybe be a little more creative with a man at third and no outs. But at the end of the day, the bullpen really stood up. And I worry about any game that the bullpen has to get more than 6 outs. Well, they had to get, 5 innings worth of outs in that extra inning win over the Padres. But with that said, tip of the cap. Now, the difference between this year's team so far, and I know we're not even through April. I mean, we're not even halfway through April, or maybe halfway, is that they're finding a way to win. They didn't win these type of games last year. Not a lot, where they're aggressive on the bases, and they're, getting that hit, moving that runner. It's not just home runs, and they're beating pretty good pitchers. So I still worry about them sometimes, kind of where I feel like they're stuck in the mud with their offense. But all in all, I felt like that was one of the best wins of the season. And here you're talking about the team being on a road trip, going to LA, the $1 billion Dodgers, and then the Padres. The Padres are 14-4 right now, and 3 of those losses are to the Cubs. So I mean, this team is formidable, and this is a tough schedule. They finish up with the Padres, and then if they're able to win the game, think about this: you go play the Dodgers and the Padres, and you win that road trip. At least they're going to split, and at this point, you take that. You got the Diamondbacks, the Dodgers, the Phillies. You got some off days coming up before this stretch of playing against these really tough teams is over. And I'm telling you, I feel really good about where this team is. And I think it's because they find a way to win. And that's the one thing that we've been asking. Hey, find a way. Just find a way. Look, we'll watch today. Obviously, I like to get these out in the morning, but I got a lot going on too. The shows, though, we'll keep putting out the content. You guys, please comment, like, subscribe, and know that I appreciate talking to you guys every day. One other thing I wanted to talk about: the Cubs. Could they potentially be interested in David Robertson as a potential candidate? Could they sign him? I think it is a possibility. Obviously, you're kicking the tires there, but another almost 40-year-old reliever. I don't know that that's really where you're gonna make a difference on this season. And I think that's a decision that they have to make. If it's if it's a yes or a no on Robertson, where do you slot him in? Who do you get rid of? And would he be that much of a difference maker? But I saw where his name had popped up. I think it was on Bleacher Report, and I'm going, I just don't see this right now. Now, if they maybe get another injury in there or whatever, but at some point you got to go and start bringing up the guys that you've developed, and then hope that they're ready to contribute. And I think that's where the next thing is. The other thing is that we're getting close on having Javier Assad back. I think that's a good thing. Tyson Miller, both of those guys doing rehabs right now, and that should help the Cubs as well. So when you start bottlenecking pitching because there's just not enough spots and you got too many guys, you can either take guys out that are playing hurt, let them rest, or you can get rid of the guys that aren't good and replace them with better pitchers. So, all right, like, subscribe, thumbs up. Thanks for being here, guys, and go Cubs.